अच्छा जी, फहाम अजीज की लगा रहा हूँ मैं। ठीक है फहाम, पहले मैं आपकी प्रेजेंटेशन लगा रहा हूँ।
ओके सर।
ओके, चलें
सर
शुरू
कैन
करें।
आई स्टार्ट?
बिस्मिल्लाह बिस्मिल्लाह करें जी।
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum to everyone. As you all guys know that my name is Sayyid Faham Hafiz. Today I am here to discuss about my presentation. Sir, next slide. So guys, the topic of my presentation is the languages of computer. As you all see that there is a figure in front of you. So you all are seeing that there are two major types of programming languages, which are high level programming language and low level programming language. But guys, these types are further divided into some more types, such as high level language are further divided into visual language, Fortran, C and C++. Similarly, low level language are further divided into some more types, such as assembly language, machine language and hardware. So next slide. Now guys, moving to our next slide, in which I describe what is computer programming language. There are basically four type of computer programming languages, which are Java, Python, JavaScript and PHP. So in this sense, we can thought that any of a various language for expressing a set of detailed instruction for a digital computer is called computer programming language. In other words, we can say that a programming language is a set of rules that provide a way of telling a computer what operation to perform. It provides a good framework for describing computation. Although there are many computer languages, relatively few are widely used. Sir, next slide. Now guys, I move to define the type of languages. First of all, I like to define what are machine assembly language. As you all see that in this slide, I describe a basic concept about machine language, but I like to elaborate much more here. So, in computer programming, machine code consisting of machine language instruction, which is a low-level programming language, used to direct control a computer central processing unit, which is called CPU. But machine language is difficult to read and write, since it does not resemble conversational mathematical notation or human language. Sir, next slide. Now guys, I like to describe algorithmic language. So as you all see that this language are designed to express mathematical or symbolic computation. There are they are the first high level language. Sir, next slide. Sir, next slide please.
एक मिनट ये जी, चलिए।
Now I like to describe Fortran language. So Fortran derived from formula translation. It is used for general purpose compile file programming language that is especially studied to numeric computation and scientific computing. This language originally developed by IBM in 1950s for scientific and engineering applications. Fortran has had multiple versions, each adding extensions while largely rating compatibility with prior versions. So next slide. Now I like to describe what is ALGOL. So guys, ALGOL is also stand for algorithmic language. It was designed by the community of American and European computer scientists during the age of 1958 to 60 for publishing algorithm as well as for doing computation. It is a family of portable programming languages for scientific computation that had a strong influence on the other languages. These languages are widely used in Europe. So next slide. Now I am moving to describe C programming language. So this language was developed in 1972 by Dennis and Brans. C programming language is a general purpose procedural language, computer programming language. This language was developed at Bell Telephone Laboratories to develop the Unix operating system. C language is the most widely used computer language. Sir, next slide. Now guys, I like to introduce business-oriented language. This language consists of COBOL, Java, and etc. First of all, I like to describe what is business-oriented language. So those languages which are widely used for business purpose are called business-oriented language. Now, I like to define COBOL language. It stands for Common Business Oriented Language. It was developed in 1959 for business purpose. This language are widely used in business because it uses English like notation and novels. This is a great invention of computer scientists. Next slide, sir. Now guys, I like to elaborate other business oriented language which is Java. So Java was designed by Sun Microsystem in 1990s, used in World Wide Web called WWW. Nowadays, Java has been widely used for programming small and portable devices such as mobile phone, telephone, etc. Sir, next slide. Now I am moving on my conclusion. As you all see that in all over the world, languages is the source of communication among human beings. Different countries, regions have different languages. Similarly, in order to communicate with the computer, user also need to have a language that should be understood by the computer. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank, very good, yaar. Excellent presentation. Excellent presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Well done. अच्छा जी. अब मैं लगा रहा हूं जनाब. सैफ मौजूद है या नहीं है?
जी सर, मैं मौजूद हूँ.
ये आपकी लगा रहा हूँ प्रेजेंटेशन में सैफ सर. बिस्मिल्लाह कीजिए.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Saif Ali Khan, and first of all, I am thankful to Sir Syed Nazir Abbas Zairi that he gave us a chance to give presentation in front of the class. Sir, next slide. The topic of my presentation is responsibilities of a good citizen. I selected this topic because I found that we need to know about this because most of our Pakistani we forgot our responsibilities. So I selected this topic. A good citizen has to be ambitious, many qualities. The fact that he has some duties and responsibilities to bear is true, but at the same time, he also enjoys some rights and privileges as a citizen of a free state. While he has every right to participate in the justical, legal, political, religious, and social affairs of the nation, he has also some responsibilities. He must not hurt the sentiments of others and must protect the weak from the strong, being loyal to the nation and society under all the circumstances is his first and foremost duty. In this paragraph, we are talking about that uh, a good citizen enjoys his right, but it is also his duties that he must protect the weak from the strong and serve their country. So next slide. A good citizen must be ready to sacrifice his life for the sake of his motherland. He must love his nation and be a nationalist. He should have firm and deep faith in his motherland. He should obey the law of the land, but he must also keep in mind the welfare of the state, the benefit of the society, the long-term interest of the nation. In this, sir, next. A good citizen must respect the cultural heritage of his country. He should respect the heroes and the prophets, the saints and the saints of his country. He must respect the race to which he belongs. He must always keep in mind the future of his country. He must raise the standard of living of his country by working honestly. Sir, next. During the time of aggression or foreign attack, he must be ready to shed his blood for the sake of his motherland. Therefore, defense of the country is the supreme duty of a good citizen. In the end, I would like to say that there are a lot of responsibilities of a good citizen that is impossible to explain, but we should try our best to become a good citizen. Thank you.
सैफ, आपने बड़ी अच्छी प्रेजेंटेशन की, लेकिन इसमें एक खराबी है जो मैंने पिछली दफा भी कहा था आप सबको कि
जी
अगर
सर।
आपने जो लिखा है और उसी को अगर आपने पढ़ना है तो फिर आप ज्यादती कर रहे हैं अपने ऑडियंस के साथ। आपको ये चीज जो आपने लिखी है, अगर आप ये बुलेट पॉइंट्स में लिख देते और साथ साथ आप हमें बताते, ये चीज जो आपने लिखी हुई पढ़ी है, अगर आपके पास कागज पे लिखी हुई होती या आपने प्रिंट लेके रखा हुआ होता, यहाँ पे तस्वीर के साथ बुलेट पॉइंट रख के इसको अगर आप एक्सप्लेन करते तो ज्यादा बेहतर होता। तो ये आपकी इसमें एक कमी है प्रेजेंटेशन के अंदर। अदरवाइज आपका टॉपिक भी बहुत अच्छा था और आपने प्रेजेंटेशन भी अच्छी की है, लेकिन ये चीज याद रखिए, प्रेजेंटेशन के अंदर जब आप स्लाइड कोई दिखा रहे हैं तो आपका ऑडियंस उसको देख सकता है, पढ़ भी सकता है, ठीक है ना? ना
जी
वो अंधा है ना वो जाहिल है। तो
सही
आपको एक्सप्लेन करने के लिए आपके पास सेपरेटली मटेरियल होना चाहिए, ठीक है?
सही सही सर।
अच्छा,
थैंक यू
अब मैं इसके
सर।
बाद
थैंक यू।
लगा रहा हूँ, उमर बिन जावेद मौजूद हैं? नहीं है। जमाल साहब हैं? वासे साहब मौजूद हैं? कोई भी नहीं है।
यस सर।
राफे साहब मौजूद हैं?
सर मैं मौजूद हूँ।
राफे साहब कौन बात कर रहा है?
जी सर, मैं मोहम्मद वासे।
वासे के राफे?
वासे।
वासे साहब, ये दीजिए, मैंने आपकी प्रेजेंटेशन लगा दी है, बिस्मिल्लाह कीजिए।
जी सर, अस्सलाम वालेकुम। So today my topic of presentation is about resources of communication, and I would like to thank Sir Nazir Abbas for allowing me to present my presentation.
पहली
Sir,
बात
next slide.
भाईजान, मेरे एक मिनट रुक जाओ, यहाँ पे शुक्रिया मेरा अदा कर रहे हो और टीचर का नाम लिखा हुआ है आपने रबिया जमाल, ठीक है?
Sir,
आगे चलो।
sorry sir. So sir, so introduction to communication. We starting with introduction to communication. We use communication usually to mean speaking, writing, or sending a message to another person, or communicate in. Our communication is really much more than that. It involves a number of choices and decisions, but being natural and unnoticed in informal situations. So these are the modes of communication, like about speaking, writing, and sending text or messages. Those are of those are for the people who are in their 20s or 90s, who can write or text messages, who can send text messages to other persons. And starting off with the history of communication, first communication started by sending small papers of letters through pigeons, falcons. As we all know, those were unsafe and insecure because the transferring of letters through pigeons was dangerous, and the information could be leaked out because catching of pigeons is so easy. Then there introduced a new mode of communication, which was by transferring through a postman. This was the mode which was secure enough to transfer letters or transfer some details which was through a postman, and it was much more secure because no one is allowed to kill a postman. And after that, since this process of sending letters was too slow, so engineers decided to develop a system on which we could communicate by means of wires spread all over the world, which can carry our voice frequencies and deliver it on the other end in seconds. So next slide. And now we are ahead to types of communication. There are three types of communication: written communication, verbal communication, non-verbal communication. So next slide. Written communication describes us like written communication involves any type of interaction that makes use of written words. Either it is on paper or either it is on an email or a text message. Communication is a key to any endeavor involving more than one person. It is essential for small business owners and managers to develop effective writing communication skills and to encourage the same in all employees. As we know, communication between employees and between the owners and managers and developers of all the business owners, that they must know how to communicate with all the sectors of their company, and if we are talking about an industry or else. So next slide. Verbal communication involves the use of our tongue or the use of gestures as for deaf and dumb people. Verbal communication refers to the production of spoken languages to send an intentional message to a listener. Verbal and non-verbal communication abilities are considered to represent a core deficit in the diagnosis of autism. So next slide. Non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication involves the reaction of our facial reactions or our hand reactions, as in our first presentation. Sir Nadir Abbas told us that we should not be folding our hands, as it shows that we are anxious in our presentation. Non-verbal communication refers to gestures, facial expression, tone of voice, eye contact, or else. There is a saying that you see but you do not observe, by Sherlock Holmes. So next slide. Resources of communication. Nowadays, there are lots of communications resources. So we have to communicate with each other. Doesn't matter a person in front of you or not. You can communicate with a cell phone, internet, or with social apps. As it is easy nowadays in 20th century, we can communicate through telephones, cell phones, or by means of email, or there are lots of popular applications like WhatsApp, which are responsible for communication these days. So next slide. As mentioned by me, resources of communication include landline, cell phone, fax, or internet. So next slide. Resources of communication by means of landline. A landline telephone, also known as landline, mainline, home phone, or fixed line, or a wireline, is a phone that uses a metal wire or optical fiber telephone line for transmission and distinguished from a mobile cellular line which uses radio waves for transmission. So the landline was introduced in 19th century, as it was much easier for us to communicate through wires, and it was fast. Considering these facts, landline was much more expensive on those days compared to these. So next slide. Communication by means of cell phone. As we all know, we are grown up in our 21st century, and this century is all about smartphones that uses radio frequencies to transfer data. Since cell phones are so popular that all of our generation communicate through them. The mobile phone can be used to communicate over long distances without wires. Now more people are using smartphones than the old kind of mobile phone, which are called feature phones. Smartphones are used because they are fast and we can communicate through them through long distances without using of wire or without being bound to such kind of situations that you have to stay on a single chair or something. So next slide. Fax communication. This was a communication through fax. Fax is a totally different kind of communication, and it is used in business works and office works. As it is also known as a fax mile.
Facsimile.
Yes, sir. Facsimile. Sometimes called telecopying or telefax. This is the telephonic transmission of scanned printed material. So next slide. And as mentioned above, according to cell phones uses internet to communicate, and those internet are a global system of interconnected computer networks that uses the inter-protocol suite to communicate between networks and devices. So next slide. Conclusion: communication is simply the act of transferring information from one place to another or group to another. We can communicate by three main ways, which are written, verbal, and non-verbal. The reason for these all information is to inform you that we have to communicate through these means of communication. So we have to improve that how we use these sources. Thank you, sir. Any questions?
मेरा आपसे एक सवाल है इससे पहले कि आप जाएं, ये बताइए तीन जो आपने मेथड लिखे हैं, रिटन, वर्बल एंड नॉन वर्बल कम्युनिकेशन, इन तीनों में आपकी नजर में सबसे ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट कौन सा है?
सर सबसे ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट रिटन है, क्योंकि वो हर एक दौर में यूज होता है एक तो, और उससे ये है कि हम जो अनेबल टू स्पीक पर्सन्स होते हैं, जैसे डेफ होते हैं और डेफ एंड डम जो होते हैं सर, उनके लिए भी हम कर सकते हैं कि हम उन्हें लिखकर बता सकते हैं।
अच्छा,
सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट
करें डेफ एंड डम जाहिल है, पढ़ना नहीं आता, फिर क्या करेंगे आप?
सर अगर डेफ एंड सर वो तो फिर एक्सेप्शनल, बहुत ज्यादा एक्सेप्शनल केस है ना।
वैसे जो मैंने पढ़ा है उसमें सबसे ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंस जो दी जाती है नॉन वर्बल कम्युनिकेशन को दी जाती है, कि आप अपनी बॉडी लैंग्वेज से किसी को वेलकम भी कर सकते हैं, अपने बॉडी लैंग्वेज से किसी को आप डिस्करेज भी कर सकते हैं, और वो आपकी पर्सनैलिटी जो जाहिर होती है आपकी नॉन वर्बल कम्युनिकेशन से होती है, क्योंकि इंसान के अल्फाज तो झूठ पे मबनी होते हैं ना, वो जो कह रहा होता है उसको मतलब नहीं होता। एक ब्रिटिश ऑथर कहता है कि जो हम कहते हैं वो उस पर हमें खुद यकीन नहीं होता है, तो उस पर अमल भी हम नहीं करते। लेकिन नॉन वर्बल कम्युनिकेशन इतनी ऑब्वियस होती है कि देखने वाले की अगर आंखें हों तो वो समझ जाता है कि आप जो बात कह रहे हैं ना, इसीलिए कहते हैं ना कि जब भी किसी से बात करो उसकी देखो कि आपसे आई कांटेक्ट कर रहा है या आई कांटेक्ट से बच रहा है। अगर वो आई कांटेक्ट से बच रहा है तो आप डिस्कार्ड कर दो उसकी बात को कि वो झूठ बोल रहा है। झूठा आदमी जो होता है कभी आपसे आंख में आंख डाल के बात नहीं करेगा, आंख में आंख डाल के वही बात करेगा जो कि सच बोल रहा होता है। तो नॉन वर्बल कम्युनिकेशन से आप दूसरे आदमी को रीड करने के लिए, अपनी बात, अपना मैसेज देने के लिए, बाज़ औक़ात अभी तो आप खुद बच्चे हैं, आपके वालिदैन अगर आपको कोई नेगेटिव बात मतलब कोई मैसेज देना होता है तो वो बाज़ औक़ात अल्फाज से नहीं देते, सिर्फ अपने जेस्चर से या अपनी आंखों से या घूर के देखना या कोई हूं कर देना, ये जो होती है ना नॉन वर्बल कम्युनिकेशन इज मोर इम्पोर्टेंट। ठीक है जी, हमजा साहब आप कुछ कह रहे हैं?
मैं ये बोल रहा था, सॉरी सर, मैं लेट हो
आपका
गया क्लास
ये
में, मैं प्रेजेंटेशन क्या हैंडआउट बना।
सॉरी
सर मैं लेट हो गया क्लास में, मैं हैंडआउट बना रहा था, मैंने हैंडआउट वगैरह प्रेजेंटेशन बना ली, मैंने आपको मेल करी है, देख लें।
भी देख लेता हूँ भाई मैं आपकी। ये तो पहले मेरे पास जो मौजूद है उनको तो खत्म कर लूँ ना मैं।
थैंक यू सर।
सिर्फ
Sir, would you please
ये भी
share my
खत्म।
slide?
जी
Sir, मेरा slide share कर लेंगे please. साबिर अली.
साबिर अली, आपके टॉपिक क्या है जरा बताइए मुझे।
Sir, time management.
टाइम मैनेजमेंट साबिर अली की है तो सही मेरे पास। एक मिनट ठहरिए जरा।
Yes.
जमाल मौजूद है, जो मैंने खोली नहीं, पहले उनको पूछ लूं मैं। टाइम तो मेरे पास बहुत है, हम कर लेंगे। उमर साहब हैं, उमर बिन जावेद। जमाल साहब हैं? नहीं है। अच्छा, राफे साहब मौजूद नहीं है। चलिए जनाब, एक मिनट ठहरिए, मैं दूसरी खोल लेता हूँ। आपकी प्रेजेंटेशन खोल रहा हूँ मैं।
Yes, sir.
राफे जावेद भी नहीं है। एक मिनट साबिर साहब, आपकी प्रेजेंटेशन अभी खोल। साबिर अली साहब और कौन कौन मौजूद बता दें ताकि मैं उनकी प्रेजेंटेशन खोलता जाऊं। साबिर की मैंने खोल ली, और कौन मौजूद है जिसने प्रेजेंटेशन करनी है? नाम
सर
बताएं अपना।
मोहम्मद
जी
सर मोहम्मद उवैस।
मोहम्मद
मोहम्मद उवैस।
मोहम्मद उवैस। मोहम्मद उवैस की तो मेरे पास नहीं है। फर्रुख रजा की है, आरिफ की है।
सर मेरी
नाम बताइए ना अपना, मुझे कैसे पता
अली
चलेगा?
रजा।
जी सॉरी, नाम
अली
बताएं।
रजा। अली रजा।
अली रजा
सर मैं
की है।
मुझे
जी अली रजा की बिल्कुल है, मैं खोल देता हूँ जनाब। और कौन है?
मोहम्मद जमाल सर, मैं मुझे
अभी तो मैंने 3 दफा पूछा मोहम्मद जमाल, मोहम्मद जमाल, उस वक्त तो आप बोल नहीं रहे।
सर पता नहीं, आवाज नहीं आ रही सर।
और कौन है इन तीनों के अलावा? सैफ की हो गई है, साबिर की मैंने खोल। शामिर साहब मौजूद हैं?
यस सर।
शामिर मौजूद हैं आप?
सर मोहम्मद कुमैल अकबर।
कुमैल अकबर साहब।
सर
चलिए अभी तो
मोहम्मद
ये 4
जॉवेस।
कर लेते हैं ना अभी, इसके बाद फिर बाकी करेंगे बाद में।
ठीक है सर, ठीक। सर अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर, मेरी प्रेजेंटेशन रिसीव हुई है आपको?
आपने भेजी होगी तो रिसीव हो गई हो। फिलहाल तो मैं साबिर साहब की प्रेजेंटेशन लगा रहा हूँ। जी साबिर साहब बिस्मिल्लाह करें
Yes,
आप।
sir. A very good evening to all of you, respected teacher and all of the scholars with the Islamic greeting, Assalamu alaikum. As you know, I'm Sabir Ali and my current semester is second, Department of Mechanical Engineering at Hamdard University, and my CMS ID is 17882020. So next slide. Yeah. The task which was given to me was to present a presentation, and I chose my topic about time management. I don't know whether you like or dislike, but I like it because time is everything. As you know, a good time management enables an individual to complete more in a shorter period of time and leads to create success. So next slide. So next slide. Yeah, as time management is essential to all aspects of life, very beneficial in organizing it. It improve productivity, better performance in terms of individuality, and plans to increase resources. Individually, time management balance your life and reduce your stress. So next slide. Yeah, this one, sir.
प्लानिंग वाली
There
कर रहे हैं
are
आप?
4 components. Planning, yes, sir. Just there are 4 components of time management, starting from planning, organizing, and time management interruptions, and the lastly, delegation. So I'm going to introduce each of them respectively. The first one is planning. Yes, so this one. As planning is controlled, the map said is the least time to reach an object, to the use of defined resources, to being the planning process. You need to identify your goals. While deciding your goals, it is essential that they are smart. That means specific. It shows, yeah. It should answer the question of what, where, how, when. Measurable means that essential of everything your progress towards the goal. Accountability, it means it should give an affirmative answer to the question. Relevantly means it is goal important to you and your long-term plans. And lastly, timely, which means what is time spent within which you wish and achieve the goal. So next slide. Yeah, organizing. The organizing is the second. The second one is organizing. Being organized allows you to quickly find anything that you need to step in organizing, to prioritize all tasks, to figure out which tasks are important, not important, urgent, and not urgent. Next block, and all the tasks that need to be completed is per their date and time. The most important first and moving on the less important. Next, highlights all important milestones due to dates now. Map out the time required to achieve each task by working from the due date. Ensure you give a dual and you create time for those top priorities. Check to make sure that you have skip and create breaks and sketched static periods. It's the third one. Next slide. Managing interruptions. The managing interruptions is the essential skill to learn if you want to make better use of time and work steps. You lack management, space managing your documents means define how long you need to keep them arranged, the materials logically, fertilize each access to materials. Managing drops in visitors learn to say not in a positive way, don't have too many chairs in the workspace is people don't trends too long around it. It need to stand. Manage your phone and emails, delete calls, and you don't need to take personally to us. Subordinate don't need to take personally towards subordinate terminate calls once the business is done. Set a recreation of team members. You will call, clear out emails from the time to time, etc. So next slide. Yeah, delegation. So the last one is delegation. Delegation involves authorities to authorities who may be better in performance a particular task than we might be save time while holding them accountable for these performance. Delegation has 3 elements: authority, the passive and right of the person to use and allocate resources efficiently, to take decisions and give order to get the work done. Authority must be well defined, and individual must be aware of these escapes of their authority. Always flows from top to bottom. Responsibility, the duty of a person to assign authority should be accompanied by an equal amount of accountability. As person is held accountable, the task assigned. So here I'm going to conclude my presentation. The time management is the coordination of tasks and activities to maximize the effectiveness of individual efforts. Essentially, the purpose of time management is enabling people to get more and better work done in the less time. It is not about better time management, it is about self-management. Thank you, sir.
ओके, थैंक यू। मेरा ये जूम का टाइम खत्म हो रहा है, मैं वीडियो सेव करके वापस आ रहा हूँ, ठीक है? जितनी देर लगेगी